Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make NBA DFS content, NFL content, sportsbook prize picks. All these videos, they go on a subreddit. I'll have it linked down below where I make updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day. Anything you need, you can ask your questions leading up to lock, all that stuff that'll be linked down below. And then if you ever need to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on Twitter, right here. You can message me, whatever you need. I will always be there as well. All right, no look back this week, but because I have NBA stuff going on, you guys know I don't sweat my lineups, but I cashed on Sunday, cashed on afternoon Sunday, cashed on Monday, missed the cash on Thursday, but another phenomenal week. And if you're looking for more in-depth content, I will have my Discord link down below. So this is going to be a little bit of a different video, only because I need to get through this really quickly. I felt bad about not having a video on Thursday. My tooth is just it's so cooked. I don't know if any of you guys have dealt with tooth pain, nerve pain in your tooth, but that that should have me on the ground. The past couple days, I get my tooth removed on Wednesday, so I have another 4 days of this. It hurts to even talk. It's no joke, man. If you dealt with tooth pain, I feel for you, man. The hype is real with it. People were not joking. This stuff can put you out, man. Put you on the ground. It hurts, like I said, it hurts to even talk. So we're gonna fly through this. I'm gonna just go player by player. I'll talk about some cash game stuff and we'll get out of here. I felt bad not having a video for Thursday. Gonna get something quick up for Sunday. And then after Wednesday, we'll have the normal stuff. So apologies, guys. Apologies. All right, Carolina, no interest in Andy Dalton. I think there's better plays around his price range. Joe Flacco, possibly Deshaun Watson. Chuba Hubbard, you guys know my stance on Chuba. Whenever he's talking GPPs, I like taking underweight stance to him, but the usage has been great. Good spot going up against Chicago. The one thing I am concerned about with Chuba Hubbard is they said they want to get Miles Sanders a bit more involved this week. So that's one thing I'm a little bit concerned about with Chuba Hubbard, but good spot going up against Chicago, getting insane work. I have no issues. He's involved in the passing game. The role has just been elite. So if you want to play Chubb and GPPs, no issues with it. I think he's more of a cash game play for me. If you need this, if you need a running back in the mid 6K range, I think that's completely okay. I think in GPPs, I have no issue with it. I'm personally probably going to look elsewhere. Moving on to wide receiver, Deontay, another kind of like cash game play for me. You know, with Andy Dalton at quarterback, he just gets such a big bump. The volume, extremely talented wide receiver that just has had poor quarterback play. But with Andy Dalton, he gets such a big bump. I think in GPPs, I think he's good. I think in cash, he's very good as well. Xavier Legette's a guy that I was really high on last week. Not as high on him this week. Only reason being, there's so much better value this week at wide receiver than there has been in weeks past. Also, tough matchup going up against Chicago. So yeah, not don't love the Carolina pass catchers this week. More so strictly in GPPs and tight ends. No, thank you. Moving on to Chicago, I think Caleb's always in play for me. He's always unowned. We haven't seen the ceiling. He's gonna have a breakout week one week, and if you get that week, I think you're probably gonna win a lot of money. I don't know when that week's gonna be. Going up against Carolina, could be this week, I suppose, but more of a GPP only play for me. And then DeAndre Swift at 5.7K, he got the most work that he's seen all season long. He played a total of 38 of the possible 60 snaps, but he did get a lot of volume, 16 attempts, 7 targets. If you are buying into this volume being there, then I think he's a fine play. He's going up against really good spot going up against Carolina. So Swift definitely a solid play. There's so many good running back plays. I'll talk about some GPP ones in a little bit. I'm only really playing like a DJ Moore or a Dunze or like a Komet if I'm stacking Caleb Williams this week. Komet clearly overtaking as the tight end one on this team. And then, yeah, more so DJ Moore, Keenan, or Dunes, these guys. Really only pairing them if I'm playing like Caleb Williams this week. Then we get into the total of this game. This is a high total. I was a little bit surprised by that. 49 total for this game, but you guys know I love me some Lamar Jackson. I did write down some ownership just because it's hard to remember. 10% Lamar Jackson going up against Cincinnati. I love it in GPPs. Just the floor, the ceiling is absolutely unmatched. I will go over my favorite play and favorite quarterback play on the slate in the next game, though. Moving on to running back Derrick Henry. Guy's been absolute, just a monster. They're 2.5 point favorites here. Should be playing from ahead. We know when they're playing from ahead, he shouldn't get scripted out of the game. That's where he's going to get just an absolute workload of volume. 7.8K. He looks like a really good play this week. Zay Flowers, I'm fine with, more in stacks with Lamar Jackson. Bateman, same thing. And then tight ends, they're just dust at this point, I suppose. Moving on to the Bengals. Yeah, Joe Burrow definitely up there as one of my more favorite GPP stacks on the week. Just really low ownership, if I recall correctly. Not going to play Zach Moss going up against Baltimore. Moving on to the wide receivers. Really just interested in Chase here and like an all. I kind of like all as a contrarian tight end play this week, but that's about it. But do have interest in Burrow stacks with like a Chase. You could single or you could play like a T or like an all. I think that's fine. No cash game plays in these this game right here. Then we get to my favorite quarterback play on the week, and it's just an ownership thing for me. Josh Allen is 5% owned going up against Houston in a game that should shoot out. 47 total, just an ownership thing for me. I absolutely love Josh Allen in GPPs. No Shakir. We're going to get a very, very condensed target share here with Buffalo. It's going to be Coleman. It's going to be Curtis Samuel. It's going to be Dalton Kincaid. My favorites are going to be Coleman and Curtis Samuel. Dalton Kincaid is a really tough matchup going up against Houston. So I personally do like Coleman, Samuel doubles. I really like these this week. Love, love, love Josh Allen this week. I think Coleman's a really good play. I think Curtis Samuel's a really good contrarian value. I love Josh Allen this week. Favorite bring back, I mean, it's just Nico. It's always Nico for me, but love the Bills this week in GPPs. Moving on to Houston, I really like Stroud. I really am high on this game overall. Cam Akers don't love. Dameon Pierce, I believe, is expected to be back. Don't love that. Nico Collins, phenomenal play. We do have Tank Dell back, but it doesn't matter for me. Nico, just his advanced metrics, just some of the highest in the league. His separation, just absolutely killing it this year. Very easy. If you're into the revenge narratives, you could play Stephon Diggs as well. Tank Dell, my least favorite, or you can just single with Nico. But more often than not, if Stroud has a massive game, he's probably going to bring along two receivers with him, right? So I always double stack Stroud. Paying up to be contrarian could be fine too. I don't think too many people are going to play something like this. So really like Stroud this week in GPPs as well. Not too high on the tight ends, but Dalton Schultz is always fine. Cash plays in this game, I think nothing for me, to be honest. Dalton Kincaid, I think it's playable, of course. And then Houston, I think Nico Collins is a really, really good play in cash this week as well. If you were spending up, we'll talk about the mid range. I think the mid range Deebo Samuel is where you want to sit this week in cash, especially with Tank Dell back. But Nico is viable in cash. Moving on to the Colts. So we got to monitor the news with Anthony Richardson here. If he is out, I love Flacco at 5.5K. Bringing back the clock from last year. And then I love these receivers if it's Flacco under center. Michael Pittman, I love. Amazing cash game play. Downs, I really like. Tight ends, no thank you. But Alec Pierce is playable. Offense, with full PPR scoring, is going to get a massive boost with Joe Flacco at quarterback. Michael Pittman's going to have a much better role with Flacco at quarterback. Same with a guy like Josh Downs. So I really, really like Flacco in GPPs. If we can take a look, he's 1% owned right now. We'll have to see with Anthony. If Anthony Richardson gets ruled out, I believe that'll come up. But Pittman's going to be popular. Downs not going to get too much ownership, but like Joe Flacco in GPPs, assuming Anthony Richardson doesn't play. If Richardson does play, I think you can firmly get to him. I think it's fine. Just downgrade the wide receivers a little bit. I still would like Pittman. All right, cash game plays. I think Michael Pittman is one of the better mid-range wide receiver plays on the slate for like a cash game setting. And then I believe that's it for the Colts. Moving on to Jacksonville. Is this going to be the week? I keep saying it. Is this going to be the week? Going up against the Colts. That just cannot stop anything. If this was the week, this is the week. But T-Law firmly in play for GPPs. I think ETN's a solid play. But let's talk about the wide receivers. I love Brian Thomas at 5.9K. Amazing matchup for him. He's been Kirk dominating you. So I love Brian Thomas. I think Kirk's a really good play. Tight end will monitor Ingram. If he's out, Britton Strange would be in play. But I really like Brian Thomas in GPPs. I think Kirk's good. ETN, I think, is a good running back play this week. And that's about it. Cash game plays. I don't think there's much for me for cash in this game outside of like a Michael Pittman. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. Um, Miami Huntley, just a large field tournament dart machine. I think it's fine. This game's just really disgusting. Total wise, pace of the game's going to be really bad. Not going to get to like Tyreek Waddle this week or the tight ends. Moving on to New England, we'll talk about this team. No, reminder: Stevenson, he's going to come off the bench. Antonio Gibson, I don't mind. I would assume he'd start. Stevenson is not going to start this week. That's one thing to keep in mind. So that's going to bump a guy like Antonio Gibson. I don't mind throwing some flyers on him in GPPs. Yeah, don't like the wide receivers and don't like the tight ends. So let's move on to Cleveland. Not matchup here for Cleveland going up against Washington. Another cheap quarterback that I like this week is Deshaun Watson. Don't like Ford. I don't know why he keeps getting ownership every single week. I'm just going to continue to fade. But he is involved in the passing game. He is cheap. No issues there. Amari Cooper, I love in GPPs. Think Judy's fine. And that's about it. Mainly just Amari Cooper, Watson. If you want to play some Judy, I think is good. But I think Watson, another guy that's going to be somewhat popular. 6 to 8%, I think is decent. I love Amari. I take his props. So yeah, another stack that I definitely do like this week is Deshaun Watson. Washington, Jaden Daniels always firmly in play. I just don't like streaming players up against Cleveland. We have to keep an eye on B-Rob. Assuming he's out, Austin Eckler is going to pop his value of 5.6K. Wide receiver, don't like too much here. Zach Ertz, mainly just Jaden Daniels here for me. Cash gameplay is not much in this game. Pretty disgusting stuff. Last set of games here, guys. No thank you to the Raiders quarterbacks. No thank you to the running backs. I do like Trey Tucker. Roll is really good. Had a rushing touchdown last week. I think he's a decent contrarian value. Tight end, Brock Bowers. I think he's a good spend up tight end this week for playing cash. He is cash viable. We have Zamir White out. Disgusting. Yeah, I think we'll move right along. Zamir White on my fantasy team, of course. But for cash game stuff, nothing really here for me. Then we get into the late games, guys, where all the nukes are. But we get to Denver. Bo Nix, no thank you. Running back, Javonte Williams picking up some ownership due to the price point, due to the matchup. I think he's good. I think he's a good running back play this week. And moving on to wide receiver, I don't mind some Sutton, but I'm only really playing him in like Bo Nix stacks. Tight end, Dulcich is fine. Then we get to Arizona. Kyler Murray, always firmly in play for me. 6.7K, I think is a reasonable price point. Really low owned this week, I think. 2% ownership, I think it's fine. Now, the guy I like quite a bit here in GPPs is going to be a guy like James Conner. San Francisco, not as good as they once were up against the run. People see San Francisco, they don't want to click him. His usage right now is great. I think he's a really good candidate at like sub 5%. So I do like Conner in GPPs. Wide receiver, not much here. That's like set up like a Michael Wilson for value. I think it's okay. And we do have Trey McBride back. Cash game stuff, not much here for cash games for me personally. Moving on to San Francisco, I think Brock Purdy is probably going to be one of the most popular quarterback plays in the slate. I think it's for good reason, though. I think right now for cash games, he's up there as one of the best quarterback plays in cash. Jordan Mason is a phenomenal play. Just volume alone is absolutely absurd. He looks great. One of the best running back plays in the slate, if you ask me. Wide receiver, I think Deebo Samuel's one of the best wide receiver plays in the slate. If you're playing cash games, he's a great play in cash this week if you have the salary to afford him. Ayuk, if you want to get crazy, is fine. Deebo's better in zone. The Cardinals play about 70% zone. Ayuk's more of the man guy, so I just give the edge to Deebo there. And yeah, that's going to be it for San Francisco. Cash game plays, you have a lot. Brock Purdy looks phenomenal on cash. Jordan Mason looks phenomenal on cash. Deebo Samuel looks phenomenal on cash. Like a lot of good chalk in this game, in my opinion. I think they look really good. And then we get to another game that looks really good to me. I love Jordan Love this week at 6.5K. Another really good spot going up against the Rams. Josh Jacobs, I think, is fine at 6.4K. Wide receiver, you have some of the best wide receiver plays in the slate. Jaden Reed, I absolutely love. Dontavion Wicks, I absolutely love. Tucker Kraft, I absolutely love. Jordan Love, a really good stack this week. Going to be chalky, but I think it's for a really good reason. Of course, no Dobbs, no Watson. There's going to be condensed target tree between three guys. This team looks great. Going to be chalky, like I said. If you're playing cash, as far as wide receivers go, there's going to be a lot of people on, Reed, Wicks, and Tucker Craft. Could you play all three together? I think you could if you wanted to. I think Jordan Love is in play as a cash quarterback this week. No issues with that at all. Moving on to the Rams. Don't really like Stafford this week. I think Kyron's probably up there with Jordan Mason as one of the best running back plays in the slate, personally, to me. Just look at this offense. Like, there's no one to do anything besides Kyron Williams. He looks great to me. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp is out. Obviously, Puka Nacua is on IR. That leaves Jordan Whittington. He played 100% of the snaps. I think he's one of the best wide receiver value plays on the slate. Going to be popular. I think if you're playing cash, he's a good play in cash. The GPP pivot, though, that I like in GPPs is Tutu Atwell. So I do like Tutu over Whittington in GPPs, but if you're playing cash, Whittington definitely the guy. But two solid values there. Colby Parkinson picking up some ownership. I think he's going a little bit over owned, but a decent value as well at tight end. Cash game plays. Kyron Williams looks great. Jordan Whittington is a really good value for cash. So a lot of good cash game chalk plays in this Rams game. Moving on to the Giants. Daniel Jones, no thank you. I think Tyron Tracy is a really good value this week for wide receiver. I like Wando Robinson quite a bit at 5.7K. Who's Daniel Jones going to throw the ball to? There's really nobody. It is a really tough matchup going up against Seattle, but he's going to have a huge role. And another value I like that nobody is on this week is Darius Slayton. Another guy that's going to get a significant bump that no one's playing this week. Tight end, Theo Johnson, firmly in play. I think if you're playing cash, it's Tucker Craft, but Theo Johnson definitely in the consideration for cash games. All right, cash games. I think there's Tracy is a good value in cash this week. Wouldn't go to the wide receivers most likely. And then wait, did I just click? Sorry. And then I guess Parkinson's viable. What am I doing? Sorry, I was on New York. This tooth, guys. Wide receiver, nothing. Theo Johnson is playable. So it's mainly Tyron Tracy, Theo Johnson for me for cash on the Giants. Moving on to Seattle, Geno Smith, another stack that's going to be quite popular this week. I'm more of on the stance of kind of like a little bit underweight stance on Geno Smith this week, but perfectly fine. Running back, Kenneth Walker. Absolutely love. I think he's one of the best running back plays in the slate. His ownership, 22%. I think it's reasonable. I love Kenneth Walker. They should be playing from ahead. I absolutely love Ken Walker this week. Wide receiver, DK Metcalf, good. Jackson Smith and Jigba is fine. Tyler Lockett as well. And that is it. Sorry, guys. I can barely get through this video. All right, let's go over where I'm at for cash this week. So I think there's a lot of quarterbacks in play. I think Brock Purdy right now is going to be your most popular, most optimal quarterback. But I think, guys like Jordan Love are firmly in play. And I think, maybe like a Geno Smith is in play for cash this week. Of course, if you have the money, if you want to spend that for a Lamar Jackson, I think that's okay. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities is playing a Lamar Jackson team this week in cash, but I think Brock Purdy is probably going to be your best bet right now, or like a Jordan Love. So I think that's where I'm at for the quarterbacks. Moving on to running back, you don't need 3 running backs in cash this week, but I think you absolutely want at least one of Jordan Mason, Kyron Williams in cash this week. You could absolutely play both together with the value of wide receiver this week, but I would play at least one of them. I think they're 2 of the best running back plays on the slate this week for cash. Other running back plays they can get to in cash, I think Tyron Tracy is firmly in play as a value of 4.3K. He looks good in a cash game setting. Other ones. Let's scroll down. Kenneth Walker, I think looks really, really good. I love him. ETN, I don't think I'd make the argument for, but it's doable, I guess. Chuba Hubbard, you could throw in there. He looks good for cash. Jerome Ford, if you want to throw a dart, we shouldn't be throwing darts in cash, but is playable. I forgot to talk about Trey Sermon for the Colts. I think I just glossed over running back here. Jonathan Taylor's out. I think Trey Sermon's also a pretty good play in the mid-range. I don't know if I get there in cash. I think Tyron Tracy is the better punt, but Trey Sermon definitely firmly in play for GPPs. other plays. No to DeAndre Swift could be doable, I guess. Then we get to like the value. So like it's mainly just like Kyrie, get to at least one of Kyron Mason. You could play both together. Let's throw both together. And then like you don't have to play 3 running backs this week, but I think Tyron Tracy's up there. Kenneth Walker, I love. Swift is in play. So you kind of get the point on where I want to be for running back this week. Moving on to wide receiver. I think with the way it's building, you're going to want to spend up for at least one running back. So you're going to need some value at wide receiver. And that's where we want to look to is the Packers. So wide receiver, tight end. I think in cash, you just clearly play like a Tucker Craft this week. But I think, you know, I don't see how you get away from like a Jaden Reed this week. I think he looks phenomenal. I think Wicks is a really good value. I think if you need some other values, so like what else could we do for value? I think Jordan Whittington is going to be extremely popular. So if you need a cheap punt, he's good. I think Trey Tucker is firmly in play as a punt. So I'm trying to give you guys some values to make this work because like Jaden Reed, Deebo Samuel both look great this week in a cash game setting. There's other values. Michael Pittman, I think is great as well. Deontay Johnson, we talked about. There's even more. Let's go more. There's Pittman. Christian Kirk, I think you can make the argument for. A little bit off the board, but I think you could make the argument for. Same with like a Wan'Dale Robinson, but a little bit off the board. Josh Downs, if Flacco starts, I think it's definitely make the argument for. But he's right there with Wicks. I'd rather play Dontavian Wicks, right? Whittington, I already said, is probably your cash punt if you do need a cheap punt. Same with Trey Tucker, probably my 2 favorite punts. I think that's it. Tight end, Tucker Craft. And yeah, GPP plays. I think Derrick Henry is going to be owned. I have no issue with that. Love Kyron, love Mason. I think James Conner at no ownership this week is very, very intriguing. And then I think that's really it, guys. Had to get through this one fairly quickly. I need to put some Orajel in my mouth. It's flaring up big time. So that's going to do it, guys. I will talk to y'all in the next video.